This video is going to walk you through just a little tutorial on FSXPlay so you can learn a little bit about some of the options, some of the things that are available to you. So real quick, Pin Seeker, just a little online competition. You can play for cash and prizes, compete against other FSX owners. So it's pretty cool. Check that out. The games here, there's a couple different competitions you can do, skills competitions, close to pin, long drive, tournaments. All this stuff is online, so you can compete online and play against other FSX members too. Driving range here. We're going to show you the driving range. I am going to skip a lot of the um, settings here because when we go into the courses, we'll talk about them there. But I want to show you a few specific things about the driving range. But like I said, we'll have this stuff covered or some of this other stuff covered that we skip in the courses. First thing we want to talk about is the aim line. This is if you watch the video about the activation code, the software. This is the room configuration tool. Basically, if you put your golf ball down on the ground on your mat and you go directly behind it, your golf ball should be right in line with this white line. If it's not, your room configuration tool is off a little bit. Or you need to move your quad or the GC3. But I'm not going to go too much in depth, but this room configuration tool here, we talked about it in the software activation email. So if you need a refresher on that, check that out. But you basically need to change some of these distances here to get that to be lined up. And this is just if it's lined up, then basically the ball is going to project on the screen where it's supposed to go. So that's the aim line. So a couple other things. You can see right now we got 313 yards to this green. Obviously not something a lot of us are going to hit. So we can go to relocate. I can pick a green at any distance here I want. So I'm going to go 100 yards. But let's say, I don't want to go to quite 100. I want to go to 85.7. You can see right there. I'm just going to right click right there and drop that ball. And now you can see I'm 86 yards away. Okay. So I can go anywhere I want and practice any of these shots to the green. Okay. Now the other thing that's kind of a pretty cool thing is I can click on this distance randomizer. I can set any min distance or max distance I want. So let's bring this max distance down to 90 yards. Okay. And I'm going to go between 40 and 90. So I'm going to just hit this shot from 86 yards. I'm going to just hit a spacebar shot here. And then what you'll see, that one was 86 yards. So now when it comes back, it's going to give me a different distance to hit. So now I've got 57. So obviously, look, you're probably not going to use this from 40 to 300 yards because you don't want to go get a 3-wood and then go pull out a 5-iron and then go pull out an 8-iron. Maybe you do a little bit, but it's kind of a fun little game if you want to compete with somebody. But this is a great tool to work with your wedges. 30 to 60, 60 to 90, so on and so forth. It's a great wedge practice to do that randomizer. Okay, so the last thing we'll talk about on the driving range, obviously it's got us at 57 yards, so it's kind of suggesting or thinking we're going to use the lob wedge. Look, this doesn't matter from a standpoint of how the unit tracks the ball. You could hit a driver here and hit it 300 yards and launch it over those trees way off in the distance, and it's going to track it just like you hit the driver. The only point of this club is basically you can see we have Carson signed in here. So every time we hit a shot here, Carson's going to be able to go in to his online account, and all that data and information will be on there. Now, if he puts the club that he's hitting on there, then that club is going to show up. So that club will show with the data. If you don't have the right club on there, it could show, or if you have it here and you're hitting driver, but it's showing lob wedge, when you go to look at that data, you're going to be hitting a lob wedge, 250, 300, whatever yards you hit it. So that's the only point of this club. It's not going to change how it tracks, so it's absolutely not mandatory. But if you do want to go back and look at your distances and do some of that stuff, then I would change what you're hitting. Okay, so that's it for the driving range for now. We're going to go ahead and exit there, and then we'll go into the courses. Um, so go back there and then go to courses, and then we're just going to load. Go to Big Rock course. Okay, so now you can see we can add players, we can delete players. If I want to remove a player, I just click on them. I can hit remove. If I want to sign somebody in, I can just enter a name in if I want, or I can create an FSX login, and then again, all their data, all their scores, every time they play, if they sign in, it will have all their information. Okay, so you can add somebody in if you want, or you can just write their name in, whatever you want if they don't want to create a profile. Obviously, these are the T positions for each one. And when you go down to the very bottom here, you can see the course info. So you can see the yardages for those T positions. So that will help you, kind of pick the appropriate T. So we'll go back to players there. Um, that's about it there. If you want to have a little handicap game, you can enter their number in. You can also do left and right. Obviously, if they're a lefty, you want to click that to make them a left-handed player. Okay, now for setup, here's a couple options. If let's say you just want to play the back nine, I can just click that front nine off there. Okay, you've got a couple different modes of play. If they're grayed out, it's just something that they're still working on. FSXPlay is kind of a living, breathing animal right now, so they're making improvements every day. So those two just kind of aren't available at the moment. The pin placement. You can do easy, normal, difficult. You can change that, and then you can play around with the green speed. These are things I would play around with a little bit and just try to get used to it. Something that you're comfortable with, something that you feel like you feel is right. Because that green speed, when you get the feel on the sims, it's different to everybody. So you may feel it's too fast, you may feel it's too slow for what you're seeing out there. So you can kind of line this up number to something you're comfortable with. Okay. So now we're going to go to the advanced settings here. Hole selection. If you want to just if I take the whole front nine off, I can also just play. Let's just say I want to play a the par threes. I can just select all the par threes here, and now we're just going to play those five par threes. Um, so the rules, obviously, again, we talked about the modes of play there. You can go down to my field of vision here. So you got your pin placement, your mulligans, um, putting mode. There's a couple different options. This is just you're going to putt. You've got an auto putt that'll just kind of generate a number for you based on how close you hit it. And then you can do a manual putt, whereas you can just set a rule yourself and you can just enter, whatever numbers that you'd like. Gimme distance here. I definitely wouldn't turn them off. You're not going to want to putt all the way out. 3 foot, 6 foot. I would say 6 foot's a decent number once you get used to it. You can also do a custom to set it, at whatever distance you want. But I would start a little longer. I might start at 10 until you kind of get accustomed to, how the sim plays. Um, and then practice mode, you can enable that to where you can just practice on the course. You can just hit the same shot from, anywhere you want and just hit practice. The stroke limit, basically, if you got a ranked beginner, you might want to set double par. That basically just means once they get to, 8 on a par 4, that's going to be their last shot. Um, your ball relief, that's you can just take your drops. You're going to want to be able to, choose that option there. So your last stuff here is your terrain. Oops. The lie penalty here, you can either turn that on or off. If you have it turned off, it's gonna reach everything the exact same. So it's not gonna affect if you're in the rough, if you're in the sand, if you're in the fairway. It's all gonna read the same. It's just gonna go off the data off the launch monitor. If you turn the lie penalty on, it might come up with a flyer lie. You might have a buried lie. You'll have different lies in there that will affect how far it hits. So it'll still track the data, the ball speeds and the launch angles and all that stuff, but it'll apply basically a penalty to that. It's something I would probably say, don't start now. It's pretty difficult to start with, But once you get into it, uh, you can obviously turn that on and play around. And then obviously, if you are going to do that lie penalty, some of these settings are going to vastly change that. So rough, yeah, if you go heavy rough and you have lie penalty on, it's going to be really, really difficult. So again, some of these, the fairway speed, fairway firmness, green firmness, all that stuff you can kind of play around with, and the green speed here, and try to get it somewhere that you're kind of comfortable with, that makes it feel like what you're used to. Because when the ball hits the ground, that's what the launch monitor doesn't really know. And for anybody that lives in a northern state, the ball doesn't react the same when it hits the ground in April as it does in July, right? So you can kind of play around with these numbers and get used to, get something that you feel is comfortable, right? Okay, so next is just weather. The altitude and the wind here. Obviously, if you want to make it a little harder, it's pretty fun to play sometimes in the heavy wind if you want to just shoot a million. Set it as hard as you can. Now, altitude is kind of a pretty cool one. You can set it at what the actual course is. You can set it at sea level, and then you can choose your altitude where you're actually at. So if you're, look, if you're used to playing in the mountains, then if you're hitting at sea level, your data is not going to be exactly what you expect it to be. Flyby is just going to basically show you, flyby of the hole. If you want to go through this golf course to kind of see it, you can go, hole by hole here. And then, you've got some, again, same course photos of whatever course you choose. And then we kind of talked about that info. So we're just going to hit play here now and show you some of the things in game um, that you've got for options as this loads up here. One thing while this loads up is you did see some of those courses asking for updates. My personal opinion is I would update uh, via the actual website. So I would go to Foresight support page, go to the software. I've got a YouTube video on how to do that. I found that that's worked more consistently than through the software. Again, that's probably going to change in the very near future, but this software is still just kind of being built. It's got some some bells and whistles that still need to kind of be worked out. So we're going to go through these tiles up on the right. You can see some of these are kind of marked in blue in the top corner. These are the ones that are up here. They're kind of your quick tiles. So if I happen to want to change one of these, if I wasn't using them and there was one I wanted to use a lot, I could take that green one off and I could put the flyby up there. So you can kind of customize that tile, however you want. So we'll go through and basically if you just want to see, you just click that bird's eye. It's going to give you just a little overview of the top of the hole. Uh, the analysis, basically, after we hit a shot here, it's going to give you all your data, and then you can see there's your ball data. If you've got the stickers on your club, you can hit the club and it'll show you. If you've got your video enabled, camera enabled, that'll be turned on here, so you can click on the video. Um, Okay, and we'll go to the show flag. Is going to bring that flag right up on the screen. So if you, I mean, this one obviously we can kind of see it from where we're at, but if it's a par four or something like that, or dog leg, that's going to bring that flag up for you. The camera, there's a bunch of different camera views. I would play around with these, see which one you like. There's a couple different ways it's going to kind of follow the ball there. And then we're going to go to flyby. We already saw that. It's just going to kind of give you a flyby of the hole. The green, if you click on that, it'll kind of give you a little overview of the green, so you can kind of see the break and see what you're hitting into there. With those balls obviously rolling the direction you're going to go. Obviously, you can see the pin spot there too. The grid is just going to give you a grid on the green. Obviously, you can see that changed a little bit. I'll hit it again so you can kind of see it flashing there in the distance. That grid's just going to give you kind of the break when you get up on the green. So replay, if you hit a great shot, uh, and want to see it again. Visual settings, you can play around with this, just different brightnesses. That's obviously gonna vary based on your lighting, your projector, all that good stuff. Conditions, if you want to kind of change time of the day, stuff like that. You can kind of change those settings in there. Um, And then skip hole if you wanna move on to the next hole. Scoreboard if you need to see the scoreboard there. And then your drop if you want to take a penalty, if you get in trouble, you can drop. And then the other thing too is, let's say if you've got a quad or a GC3 and you've got a lefty playing with you, let's say we're going to go ahead and hit a shot there for Carson. We're going to pretend that Carson's a lefty. He's not, but we're going to pretend that he is there. We're going to hit a shot for him. So now we've moved the unit over, but instead of moving it back, what we can do is we can just click on the player, and I can click on Carson again, and then Carson can hit his shot again, right? And then once Carson's in, then basically you can flip that unit back, and everybody else can play. So that's how you're going to switch player. Or if obviously someone just gets up and walks away from the simulator. Obviously that's they go to the bathroom, whatever, and you want to kind of keep rolling, you can hit skip player. You won't be able to move on to the next hole unless you have that player skip the hole. So a couple other settings in here that we'll want to see. You can actually set these outside as well, but we're just going to show them in the game here. So language, obviously, you can change this around if you want. Units is just going to how it's going to display this data. If you want to go, metric or imperial or whatever you want. The display, this is just how you want this to present. Normally, I'm going to play in full screen, but because I'm using this to make this video, it's just easier to have it windowed. The frame rate and the graphic quality and the DLSS, that's all just the quality of the graphics. Now, look, there's only so much a computer can take before it overheats, before it glitches, before it lags. So you can play around with those and get those settings as high as your PC will take them. But if you start to see glitching, the ball flight's lagging, all that stuff, stuff's not clear, that's where you need to kind of tone those settings down a little bit. Dual display. I don't have another computer screen hooked up here, but if you've got a projector and a TV screen or multiples, you would basically enable that there. But I'm just on a laptop on this one. The mini map basically is just kind of the overhead view of the whole. You can have the right-handed, the left-handed, where it just stays there, or you can maintain handedness. So basically, when you've got a lefty up, it's going to move it over there. Display analysis is just basically after the shot. If you want to see that data pop up on the screen, you can do that. I have it disabled. Devices, we talked about that in the activation software. So you're just going to connect to that device. Again, let's say somebody leaves, you need to remove them from the game. Boom, player 4 is gone right there. So game options here. You can turn tracers on or off. If you have them just on and you're playing a foursome, you're going to see every tracer all along that whole hole. They're all going to stay there the whole time. If you want just last only, it'll just show the last one. You can also turn them off. Again, same thing on the practice. If you have practice mode, basically all those tracers will stay, or you can just have the last one. Putt prediction is basically just a little arrow that's going to kind of show you, hey, this is the way the ball is going to go. So I would again enable that to start with. Once you get used to it, if you want to just use the grid, I kind of personally played simulation for a long time. I kind of like the grid better. It's up to you. Again, that's just stuff you're going to play around with. Again, show the mini map during the shot. That's when the ball's flying. If you want that map to be up there, you can. Ball find assist is actually when you're actually trying to get the launch monitor to find the ball. If you have that turned on, that will show on the screen. So when you start, that might be something that you might want a little assistance to figure out where your zone is. After you play for a while, you'll definitely want that turned off, because it's basically you're going to know where to hit the ball, or where the ball needs to be put for it to see it. On-screen aiming arrows, basically, that's just on the main screen that you can kind of bounce back and forth and aim your screen. I'll show you the how to rotate that screen. Actually, you know what? We'll just turn these on, so I'll show you that too. The aim line we talked about on the driving range. Distance indicator, obviously, that's just showing you how far it is. Wait for spin. The Foresight technology has a 0.7 second delay to gather the proper spin rate. If you don't want to wait for spin, your shot's going to end up in the exact same location as it were if you have this on or off. So if you knocked it in the hole, it's going in the hole regardless. The only thing that might be a little different is the actual shot shape. You might see that ball start off a little further right, a little further left. Uh, if you have wait for spin turned on, it's going to be the actual shot shape. If you have it turned off, it might be just a little different than what you would see outside. Again, doesn't end result doesn't change the data. That's all the same. It's just you might see a little different visual on the screen. And again, if you don't wait for it, it's immediate. If you wait for it, it's zero point 0.7 seconds. I usually wait for it. I think most of my clients wait for it. It's pretty immediate, really. By the time you finish your swing, it's kind of launching. Show gimme zone is just a circle around the hole of the gimme distance you have selected. Actually, if you're playing with the group, it actually adds a whole lot of fun. So you can see right where that gimme zone is, and give each other a hard time when it rolls just out of it or just short. Data tiles overlay. This is just basically the data tile. So if you want your data kind of displayed on the screen, it kind of overlays it, on there that you can see it. So this is the arrows. So basically, if I just want to aim right, I can do it this way. If I don't have those, basically, this is kind of how I'm going to rotate the screen. So I can just click wherever I want. So like if I'm punching out here, you can see, let's say I had to punch out to this tee box here. You can see to that tee box is that 37.9 yards. So if I'm punching out to the middle of that tee box, I know I want to hit there, and I want to hit it to about 38 yards, right? And that'll put me in the middle of the tee box. So you can do that, or again, you could do, the arrow either way, or you can just click the screen and drag it, whatever's easiest for you. So that's about it for kind of how this all works and the data and all that stuff. So the one thing we'll show you now here is we're going to exit this game. It's going to ask us if we want to save. So let's say you played a couple holes, you want to come back and play, or your buddy's got to go. Yeah, let's go ahead and save that game. You can enter it whatever you want, and then we're going to hit that save. Okay. And then it's going to give you, a little bit of data information here at the end. Go back to that main menu, and then let's say we're going to exit out of here, go here. The next day you come back, boom, load game. There's our test game, open game, and we're going to load, and we're going to go right back to where we were. So that's your general walkthrough of FSX. Play around with it. Remember, online, there is the user manual, but this should be plenty to kind of get you started and know the bells and whistles. And thanks for the purchase, and have fun.